Sie hören Sport und Musik.
Das Spiel ist aus! Deutschland ist Weltmeister!
In a world where fans fight over whether to call it football, or soccer, two German men defy the odds and call it Fußball. Bringing you inside the German-American football experience. And now, here are your hosts, the Schnitzel Boys.
There we are. Surprise.
Here we are. Yeah, I wasn't sure I was gonna make it, but here I am.
Here you are. And when we showed up, you looked so surprised. You're like, oh my God, we're here.
Oh,
we are here.
Oh, a podcast.
A pleasant surprise, right? Like
Oh,
a free
so
gift.
nice.
A podcast is a free gift
To the world. Yes.
to the world.
And boy, do we have things to talk about.
Oh, man. This is Schnitzel night. This is Bundesliga night. We're at the Germany hour, the Deutschland hour. And it was a big, big weekend because it was the culmination of the Bundesliga season, Bjorn.
Yeah, and not just any old Bundesliga season. I mean, it's going to be a while until we've got something like this again. We remember at the beginning of the season, 3 games in, we were like, this is going to be another dud this season.
Yeah.
We're just going through the motions. And I would say now, I would predict the same for the future. I think we have now learned that for the rest of our lives, no other team will ever win the title again other than Bayern. It's going to be just Bayern every year from now on until eternity.
Oh, don't say that, Bjorn. Don't say it was so close this year. Yeah, the results were all the same, but the journey to get there was something new for all of us here as the Bundesliga supporters. Because at the very, very last day, Bayern München won the title, 11th title in a row. But they stumbled to it, and they only got it 3 minutes from time because of a Jamal Musiala Superschuss.
Yep.
And Borussia Dortmund choke.
Choke
big
fest
choke
of all
for-
choke fests.
Dortmund choke fest was going on.
So
and
Bayern
Bayern München were able to
still-
lift their title.
But still fired everybody.
Exactly.
So which that leads me to this prognosis. So everybody did everything wrong, everybody got fired, and they still won. So this is just good. This is just it. This was the closest anyone could ever come to beat them. But if it didn't happen this year, it'll never happen again. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, they won. Well, 2 things. Is your air conditioner on?
Oh, I can turn that off.
It's not a big deal. It's just something like this. There's a buzzing. If you're hot, keep it. I know it is summertime. I hear the weather's nice in New York City right now.
It's been very hot. I wasn't here. I was upstate near Lake George, and it was pretty hot in this office, but I turned it off. Here we are.
Thank
Best
you.
Sound quality.
Because we are professionals. Yeah, so Bayern München won the league, but they're feeling very mixed about it. And that's the weird thing. It's like they won the league. And that's not good enough. On the day, this is where they get that nickname Hollywood FC. On the final celebrations, they chose the exact moment they lifted the title to announce that Salihamidzic and Oliver Kahn were fired. The 2 dudes that under their leadership have won a major title every season they were in charge. Every season, Bjorn. And Bayern München's like, yeah, that's just the Bundesliga? No, thanks. So to summarize, and then you know what the crazy thing about that is? The fans are excited. They're rejoicing. They're like, Kahn out, Salihamidzic out. Thank God they ran this club into the dumps. That's what I see over and over again. And I'm like, let's review this season. They won the Bundesliga.
Yep.
They were eliminated by Manchester City from the Champions League. The best club in the world right now. We're about to win a treble. They're eliminating everything. They eliminated Real Madrid next. And then, yeah, they were eliminated from the German Cup. But does Bayern München care about the German Cup, really? If they don't win it, do they really care?
No.
That's the season. And then if I looked at the executive staff and they supervised as such, I would say, good on you. You get another season. Just on that. But no, not in Bayern world. Bayern world, we're like, no. I would love to know what they demand. I guess they demand a treble-laden season every season. How many treble seasons have they had? 1 or 2 at best that I can think of. Maybe a few, maybe 1 or 2 more in the 70s. But I don't know. So my stance is it's a little bizarre. But in typical Bayern München fashion, very similar to the way Cristiano Ronaldo, when he was at Real Madrid, when they won the 3rd Champions League, is when he decided to be like, I'm leaving, goodbye, made it all about him. I don't know if you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
He went to Juventus. Bayern München's like, yeah, we won the title, but we also fired Oliver Kahn and forbade him from coming to the festivities, huh? It's like, oh yeah? Don't legends deserve better? The great Oli Kahn? And then Uli Hoeneß just came out and said, you know what, hiring Oli Kahn was a mistake.
Yeah.
Because of his temperament. It's like, do you know Oli Kahn? Have you met Oliver Kahn?
Well, I read that it's his advisors that are the problem. Did you read that? That's what Uli Hoeneß said. He has too many. They thought that he would do the job with his personality, but he had a lot of advisors. He had a lot of people around him, and that they were the problem, according to Uli Hoeneß.
Bjorn, can I translate that? Oliver Kahn needed to have me as an advisor, and he didn't. He had a bunch of other people as advisors.
He wasn't paying enough attention to Uli.
That's
yeah,
what
I mean, I guess now it's Hoeneß and Rummenigge back in charge. We'll see how that goes. I mean, yeah, it'd be nice. It'd be nice to see them struggle, but I'm not. I mean, apparently they had already decided this previously. They told them on Thursday that this was happening. I mean, they all expected to. This was a total shock that Dortmund just choked like this, right? Everybody expected Dortmund to win, and
yeah, but don't count your eggs before they hatched. Let's talk about the timing of this. Let's say you wanted to get rid of Salihamidzic and Kahn, and the word on the street was you could win a treble this year. We still would have gotten rid of you, and I'd love to know why. And if that's the case, how's the timing of this? Shouldn't they have waited a couple weeks? Maybe in the middle of the summer or something. I don't know. Should they have waited? Why was it now?
I mean, I'm just telling you what I read. I'm not defending anything, of course, but what I read is that they were worried because with Nagelsmann found out via Twitter that he had lost his job, so they had decided, and then it leaked, and that was uncomfortable. People did not like that at Bayern. So in this case, they were like, we have to tell them immediately so that this doesn't happen. So
well. Again, I know you're not
defending. So I guess they told them on Thursday, right? And then they made it public on Saturday.
The story goes, they told them on Thursday. Hassan, or Blatzo, as they called him, was like, I still want to be there for my team. But Oliver Kahn was like, screw you guys. And they told him not to come because they thought he would get into fisticuffs with Gleason and punch him out in the box. And I, for one, would have loved for that to happen. I'm like, let's make that happen. And also, that's Oliver Kahn. It's another story of someone being emotional and then executives poo-pooing it and pretending like it's not a thing that needs to happen. And then I relate that to what we've seen with Oliver Glasner and so forth. And speaking of Frankfurt's Markus Krosch, who fired Oliver Glasner, is apparently number one in the running to replace Salihamidzic as sporting director at Bayern München. So they're like, hell yeah, let's bring him in. No emotions here. We don't feel anything. We're just a machine. So Bayern München, but like you said, their focus on perfection is so interesting. They're sticking with Tuchel. They have a better CEO now, or whatever, in their words, and then or maybe someone who's more susceptible to listen to Uli Hoeneß. Because Uli Hoeneß is Bayern is Uli Hoeneß. That's sort of the old phrase. And they won the league, but they did it very I just don't understand the perspective of why they were so upset about everything. like on the field, this season was a decent season. So, I mean, I don't really get it. They got Thomas Tuchel, a coach they wanted
Well,
for a
they
long
were,
time.
yeah,
That
they
happened.
were.
They got rid of Nagelsmann because they wanted to get rid of Nagelsmann. That happened. And I don't know. They need a number 9 over the summer. Sure, they can go buy that. That's not a big deal. Go do that. Oliver Kahn and Salihamidzic are probably more than capable of finding a new number 9. So seemingly, this is just a really exciting Bundesliga season. It was sort of a FU to the title. It was like Bayern München's like breaking the Bundesliga, and they're unapologetic about it. They're like, we don't even care about the league anymore. We just care about being even better. So I don't know.
What do they care about?
I don't winning the Champions League, I guess, but like, I mean, that's such a crapshoot for everybody. You can't buy a Champions League title. All Real Madrid's the only team that won it.
This from the beginning was not really focused on. This was not results based. This is like there's personal stuff going on with the old guard and the egos and yeah, I don't know. Nagelsmann didn't represent the club well enough, supposedly. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on that we don't understand.
There's been a lot of player unrest this season, like the old days in the 90s.
Yeah.
I learned recently that Lothar Matthäus challenged Jürgen Klinsmann to a live debate on TV back when they played in Bayern München together, and Jürgen Klinsmann denied. But I would love to have seen that.
That would have been fun.
That would have been epic. But yeah, you're starting to see that kind of behavior now. But the reality, Bjorn, it boils down to as simple as they got rid of Robert Lewandowski. He wanted to go, so he left. And you can't immediately replace Robert Lewandowski.
Yeah.
And they didn't. This is the first season they didn't have him, and they still won the title, just by fewer goals and fewer points that they're used to.
Exactly. They won the yeah. I mean, it was plus 54 goal differential, 71 points. 1 year ago, it was 77 plus 60. So
the fans will point out that the goal difference happened under Nagelsmann, not under Tuchel. If Tuchel's results were throughout the season, they would not have won a goal difference. Dortmund would have won a goal difference.
So they were 6 goals worse, 6 points worse than last year. Yeah.
A little bit of a difference, a little bit of a drop off, but expected. So the weird thing about, I mean, Thomas Muller saved the day by being like, I don't care what you say, winning is a special thing. And it was you could tell from the players, it was quite an achievement. For young Jamal Musiala, for old man Thomas Muller. For the players, you can tell it was a big sigh of relief. Like, it was a big deal for them, and thankfully. But for the board and for the uppers, it almost seemed like a disappointment. And it was a little... I mean, they can do what they do. Their timing, though, is very weird to me. They had a big meeting, and they did their things before the last day of the Bundesliga. I don't know. I'm sure they have a reason for it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it seemed to appease a lot of the fans. So I guess the Bayern be Bayern. They're doing their thing.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. See what happens next year. But really, I mean, whatever the Bayern ego drama behind the scenes is should not overshadow what an incredible final match day we had. I mean,
amazing.
So much drama, and you know, I gotta say, from my perspective, everything really came up Bochum.
Yeah, you had a great final weekend.
In ways that I really didn't think. I was quite nervous. I did not think this was going to go so well, but yeah, Leverkusen did not show up really, which was good. Good for us.
Bochum are king of the Ruhrpott. Bochum on the last day. You guys totally the king of the Ruhrpott.
We're the only team that won. Yeah.
You know what's fun about the three Ruhrpott clubs? Well, Bochum they had a great game against Leverkusen. That first goal was a rocket of a goal.
I mean, it helps to be a man up, you know, starting in minute 7. I mean, that was just an odd choice by oh boy, what's his name?
I think if I even remember the red card.
Adli. Oddly, just kind of was passed by another Bochum player with the ball, and then just kind of turned around and kicked him.
Nice. Oh, maybe I do remember that.
It was not clear what the best case scenario was there. I don't know.
Well, in MLS, that's a no call. So that's only a red card in the Bundesliga. In MLS, it's usually a no call.
Wait, what? What do you mean?
Just the general referees in MLS. This is the Deutschland hour.
Oh,
I'm saying the amount of two-legged scissor tackles.
Disparaging comments on. No, the referee in the game was going to give a yellow, and he gave a yellow.
Then the VAR.
I mean, it's 7 minutes in. It's always like a little bit as a referee, you hesitate to give a red card, but then VAR said, "No, look, this was crazy," and on replay, yeah, it was just sort of there was just no explanation for it. It wasn't like he was going for the ball. It's not like it was just a brain fart. I don't know. And so
he was mad or whatever.
He was sent off, and then I was worried because I was like, this is not something that Bochum are used to, like the kind of playing against a set defense, sort of, even with a man up. And for a while, Bayer Leverkusen still had some chances on the counter, and I said, oh, this will be even more upsetting if we lose this while being down a man. But that did not happen. Takuna
No, you won 3-0.
Asano had a great game. There was just a lot of, and then eventually Leverkusen was tired and lost interest, and eventually it was not a stressful day. No, it was very fun.
It was one of the best wins of the season, and it's sitting at 14th place.
14th place.
14th.
Gave up 72 goals. Lost 19 out of 34. Finished
and you only
14th.
have 35.
I don't think 35 points.
35
I don't think
points,
that's ever happened. I only went back a couple years, so I don't know if this has ever happened, but it certainly has not happened in a while that the team with the team in the league that gave up the most goals, A, did not get relegated, and B, finished in 14th place. So great result. I mean, also other results helped us. Augsburg lost, and Stuttgart didn't win. Schalke lost in.
Don't poo-poo the result.
No, I'm not.
It was a comfortable 3-0 win. So it shows you, because on the bottom and on the top, it was just so competitive. I mean, the league was won by 71 points. That hasn't happened in years. Usually it's like 75 and up. So Bochum are kings of the Ruhrpott. They're cheering and doing their thing, hooting and hollering. Schalke going down. However, they seem to be less. The last time Schalke went down, the fans physically assaulted the players. They went after them and attacked them. This year, it seems to be more of a, we're doing it right. They still love their man in Thomas Reis, and they think they're going to be the best team in the Bundesliga 2 and bounce right back up. I think their relegation from 2 years ago have set themselves up to be more forgiving, their club. And they seem to be happy at Schalke, despite going down. Not happy, they always want to stay up, but they seem to be optimistic about the fact that Schalke are on their way back up, and they are coming back up. And Borussia Dortmund, they had printed T-shirts outside the stadium that said Deutsche Meister 23, and that never count your eggs before they're hatched. That's a curse alone. They are typical defensive display. Mainz just scored 2 goals. They were like the only team on the field. Emre Can and Mats Hummels were just looking at each other, not covering anybody in the box. It's like, yeah, that's what happens when their goal scorer is open, you guys. And Mainz just holding tight, hitting them on the counter. And every time Mainz had a movement on the ball, it was dangerous. Then Dortmund had a penalty. They missed it to pull one back. And that was sort of very... how do I say that? Symptomatic on the fact that they were under some pressure, and mentally they were kind of effed by the 15th minute of this game.
Now, Mainz had, we should just mention that Mainz had lost their 4 previous games, 4 in a row.
They were on a losing skid.
They had been on vacation, on early summer vacation already, but not on Saturday.
Like that phrase I can't remember, a team with nothing to lose plays well. Like a team with everything to win. How about that? I'll make up that phrase. I'll make up that thing. But Dortmund, the young Gio Reyna came off the bench and assisted both of their goals, if I'm not mistaken. At least the first one, right? But it was not enough as they finished 2-2 and they choked and they lost on goal difference. After 10 seasons of never winning the title again, they finally tied on points but lost on goal difference. And Jude Bellingham is now going to leave, and he was just voted player of the season, and they sort of have to kind of start from square one again for next season. Although the reason it's so interesting, there's a great video of all the fans singing at Aiden Terzic and Aiden Terzic crying. Seems like all the fans were still pretty happy with how things turned out. It could have been much worse. It breaks your heart to lose.
I mean,
it breaks your heart to lose at the end of the season. They should have won it, but it's not like they were burning down houses or anything like that. I'm sure they're gravely disappointed, but they still sang at the end, and they were still there. And I think when all was said and done, this is the best season they've had in 11 years. So, something to cheer. And I love that sort of positive attitude. Are you reading the BVB book at all?
Not yet. No, it has not arrived yet.
I've been reading. I just finished it over the weekend. We'll talk about that later. But we'll talk about the book itself later. But reading that book has been so interesting for me, and it gives me much more deeper perspective onto what the BVB culture, the Borussia culture. And that's why it's so interesting to see the fans behave the way they do. And now I have more of an understanding of it, which is way more a contrast you see in certain other clubs. We'll talk about in the USA Hour.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, that is definitely a Ruhrgebiet thing, right? Schalke they were still celebrating the team going down. Bochum, I mean, obviously they were happy this weekend, but this happened a couple weeks ago when they lost at home to Stuttgart, and the fans were like building the team up. Yeah, that is definitely, it's part of the culture. We're behind the team no matter what.
Well, then what happened with Schalke 2 seasons ago? They attacked their fans. Maybe that was a lapse in culture there, a little lapse.
Well, I mean, I guess they felt like they had been suffered enough. I mean, I guess the thing that's expected from the teams, it's not. I think there is enough sophistication maybe or understanding of the game that it's like the results are not always commensurate with your effort. Like you can try hard and still lose, or Dortmund I think had an XG of almost 5 in that game against Mainz or something. So it's not like they didn't have. Yeah. It's not like they didn't have chances to win. Sometimes it's just cruel and things just don't go your way. And I think that's the thing. As long as you give it all you got, we're going to be behind you. And I think that's the difference. 2 years ago, the Schalke fans did not feel like those players gave it all they had. The opinion was that they were overpaid and under the effort was not up to what they were supposed to do.
That was a weird season in general.
I think that's what it is. I think that's what it is. The support will be unwavering as long as the fans feel that the players gave it all they had.
That makes sense. Although that season, it was just a weird vibe because the club announced extreme debts, and the executive director, the head guy, said something really racist that year. Remember, so they had to vote him out. And then they couldn't afford a coach. They had like 5 coaches that season or whatever, including one of the board members.
So compared to those days, they're definitely in a better place. Thomas Reis is a good coach. I mean, he made them. They were also pretty far behind in last place, and they gave it a go. They were competitive. They had a chance until the very last day to do something. So
the only club that was eliminated in the last week was Hertha Berlin.
Yeah, and they got to win, and they got to win on the road in Wolfsburg. Surprisingly, keeping Leverkusen in 6th place despite losing to Bochum. So this
imagine. That's a perfect example of what it's like to play without pressure, right? They're like, well, doesn't matter what we do, we're going down anyway. And with that kind of mentality, you're more dangerous. So, I think it's with Dortmund. I think they just have problems dealing with the pressure. They need a psychologist, a sports psychologist. Need to find out some way to be able to step up to big games and don't let Bayern put their complex on you. Just go out there and get them. The other part of it is I think Borussia Dortmund want to do their thing no matter what, and the whole fact that their Bayern sort of challenger was kind of thrust upon them. They didn't really choose that. like the league kind of chose that. The people chose that. They're like, Dortmund, you're our only hope. It's all on you. Where Dortmund's just like, we really just want to do our own thing, man. I don't know. We're like doing our thing. Can't someone else go play against Bayern? And the answer is no. It's just you guys. The rest of us can't challenge. Well,
Well, in the end, RB Leipzig's only 5 points behind, so I don't know. I mean, they're also going to lose a bunch of people.
yeah.
So
Christopher
we'll
Nkunku
see.
is off to Chelsea.
After
But
Chelsea.
but no, you are right though. RB Leipzig does need to show up more. They had some bad luck with some injuries this year. Next year they need to show up a little more. I'm very curious. How do you think next season's going to work under Tuchel? It's hard to predict, right?
I have no idea. I mean, it seems like there's going to be a lot of movement. I don't know what's happening. Alfonso Davies, I read today, because his contract's up, not in 2025, but that means for a young player like him, that means they have to either extend it now or risk losing him. And he said that maybe they should wait till next year. He doesn't know who to talk to. Everybody, Salihamidzic was the one that brought him in. He doesn't really have a relationship with Rummenigge and Hoeneß, and so it's just anybody's guess. It's like it's not like Hoeneß and Rummenigge have always gotten everything right in the past.
No,
I mean
not
they
at
have,
all.
they've had a margin for error, because they have more. They have more money. They've had more talent. They've had Robert Lewandowski. They've had a bunch of so they've so it's not like, oh, the old guys are back in charge. They're going to revamp the roster and they're going to be a juggernaut. Not necessarily. It's going to be very interesting to see who stays, who goes, what's happening on the transfer market. Declan Rice thereafter, I heard.
They're after
Rice
a number 6
of West Ham United, which I don't know. There's a lot of big teams going after him, so I'm not sure if that's in the cards. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting and impossible. Like, I would not even dare predict anything. I mean, I'm sure they're going to be good. It's like they have a bunch of good players. It's not like these guys are all chumps. So.
No.
And I think Tuchel is a good coach, so if he has more time, I'm sure they're going to be fine. And Dortmund is going to lose a lot. I mean, we'll see. Bellingham is pretty certain. I don't know who else. If Adeyemi goes, if everybody else, we'll have to see how these squads line up, and Leipzig as well.
Sebastian Aller is looking good from his recovery, which is nice. That's a big story of the season. Him getting a terrible cancer prognosis in the beginning of or diagnosis in the beginning of the season, and he did his thing, came back, and he's back in form. He scored. He can get more form, but
he's going to be thinking about that penalty for a while, though. No, I mean,
yeah. Well, I mean, he
really,
also missed a
1-1.
sitter on the line, in my opinion, towards the end there when it was crossed in. But you can't. He's only been back for a few months. Maybe Jude Bellingham will stay an extra season or two. Who knows? Maybe he'll be like, let's do it again. I don't think anything's set in stone. So I would love for him to stay. He seems to really enjoy himself there. And also, look what happened to Jadon Sancho. Like, going to England. I mean, I don't know.
He's
not
going
always
to Real Madrid, though. No,
or going to Real Madrid. It's not always roses.
That seemed pretty. I mean, that'd be perfect for him, though. Real Madrid? Definitely. Yeah, I mean, Kroos and Modric are their careers are winding down. This is a good opportunity for him, I think. I mean,
well, what happened to Nuri Sahin and Henrik Mkhitaryan when they left? Where did Mkhitaryan go? Did he go to Man United? Or did he go to Real Madrid?
Well, he went to United for a little bit, and then now he's in Italy.
It's just not always. If you're doing well at one club, it doesn't translate.
Was Arsenal? No, wait, Mkhitaryan.
Maybe it was Arsenal. Well, but Nuri Sahin went to Real Madrid and was loaned back. So maybe Jude Bellingham will go, and a season later he'll be loaned back. We'll see. But
I think he's in a different. I think he's in a different sort of level than those guys. Maybe, I don't know. I guess we'll find out. If he is or not.
How do you feel about Jadon Sancho?
Man United first, and then Arsenal for Mkhitaryan. So we're both right.
So what about Jadon Sancho? He was amazing. He dominated, similar to Jude Bellingham did. He went to Man United, right? And is he lighting it up at Man United right now?
He scored this weekend. He gets minutes. I would say he had a little bit of under the previous coach he didn't get as much time. He did not do well under Rangnick, but Ten Hag seems to like him more. He's getting time. Yeah, I think he's it's a process. It's a process. But
Right.
And Man United, they were struggling early in the season. It's a new coach. No, I think he's going to be okay. He's
Yeah.
not coming back. Not coming back to Dortmund. And
Speaking
I
of
think
players,
Bellingham in Real Madrid he's gonna do great. Speaking of
yeah,
players,
and Borussia Dortmund will gladly take the money. Speaking of players, you know who was speaking of one of Bayern's great players, adding on to this Bayern drama with again the weird energy of the players. You know who was really really upset coming home after the game in the final game and pouting and just not celebrating was Leon Goretzka. Leon Goretzka was an unhappy boy because he was taken off the field and replaced by a young player named Musiala, and he's still pouting about it. And it's like Musiala scored the winner. Musiala scored the goal of the season as far as they're concerned. So the fact that Goretzka is still whining and pouting about it shows you A, how selfish he is, and B, just the situation of the Bayern egos is a little bit untenable.
well, we don't know. As he's a man of Bochum, so I'm gonna defend Goretzka here. He's not. We don't know. We don't know what happened. Maybe he's got a right to be upset. He has not had a good season. I mean, that's gotta be honest about that. So to be determined. Maybe he'll come to Bochum. Maybe he'll come back to his roots.
Maybe he'll go to Real Madrid and replace Tony Kroos. Who knows? Or something like that. You know who needs to come to Bayern München? If Stefan is CEO, and I said this last week, sign Gundogan. I think he's now being linked with. Who's he being linked with? Juventus or something? He's being linked with someone.
Yeah, his contract's up. Yeah, he's gonna
sign Gundogan. Or hey, maybe even Dortmund. Huh? Bring in Gundogan. Isn't he from? He's an old Dortmund player. Yeah,
that's where he was. Yeah, yeah.
Go back to Dortmund, Gundogan. We need you, and by we I mean the Borussia Dortmund folk. Or the Bundesliga folk. Okay, so moving down the table, Union Berlin won the battle between them and Freiburg to get themselves in the Champions League. Speaking of Real Madrid, Real Madrid is coming to the Stadion an der Forsterei, an die Alte Forsterei, and I can't wait.
This is not set in stone. There's a chance they're going to make them go to the Olympiastadion for those games.
Oh, really? Is it too small?
Yeah, I read something about it. It's unclear.
Oh.
But they were playing the Champions League after the game. They were playing the Champions League tune at the Alte Försterei, and people just went nuts. I mean, it was just beautiful.
I love it. I love it. I did hear their rise has been amazing. I did hear recently, though, that they had a big private equity investment before all this started. So they've been invested in to create this stuff.
They have some money. I mean, it's not all just they got to be some. It's not all just enthusiasm. There's some cash, but
it's got to be.
But they went up in year 1, stayed up in year 2, made the Europa League in year 3, and now Champions League in year 4. Right? That
means they're going to win the Bundesliga next year, right? Isn't that the direction?
Perhaps.
Maybe. Bayern München are faltering. Dortmund can't handle the pressure. RB Leipzig has too many injuries. So Union Berlin will snap it up next year. We'll see.
Maybe.
That's what I'm saying.
And
but Union Berlin make Champions League. Freiburg in the Europa League, and Bayer Leverkusen made the Conference League. Right? Isn't that where they land?
unless Leipzig wins the cup.
And then they're eliminated, or what?
No, in which case Leverkusen is going to move up to the Europa League, and Frankfurt, thanks to their win and Wolfsburg's loss, moves up to 7th place, and that guarantees them a European spot. They either are going to win the cup and get the Europa League spot that way, or if they lose the cup final, then Leverkusen will move up to the Europa League, and Frankfurt will get the Conference League. Yeah.
then after all that happens, they're going to fire their coach Oliver Glasner for winning 2 titles in 2 seasons. Oh,
Well, I mean,
a shame.
Anyway, I think my money is on Leipzig for the cup final. But yeah, that's
I want Frankfurt for the win, just to be like, what does Oliver Glasner need to do to stay at a club?
I guess
He's going to go to Bayern München, win the Champions League, and they're going to fire him on the final day. They'll be like, you know what, Champions League's not enough. Get out of here. I didn't like how you spoke to my associate or whatever. Okay, going down, we had Stuttgart.
Wolfsburg, Mainz, Gladbach, Köln, Hoffenheim.
Comfortably in the middle. Hoffenheim,
Bremen,
Pellegrino,
those were all
Matarazzo. Turn around.
he got right.
Werder Bremen is staying up. They'll be happy. Bochum 14th. Augsburg just staying in, just by a hair, by 1 point. They're in the safety zone.
One more Stuttgart goal, and they had their chances. One more Stuttgart goal would have moved Augsburg into the relegation playoff.
And Stuttgart is in the relegation playoff against HSV.
Yeah, that was a crazy thing too. The second Liga finish.
The Krimi, as my mom calls it. The Bundesliga second, Bundesliga 2. So HSV and Little Baby Heidenheim, the mighty HSV and Baby Heidenheim, were second and third respectively. They both played Sandhausen and Jan Regensburg, the 2 bottom teams, on the last day. And they were only 1 point apart. So if Hamburg were to win and Heidenheim were to tie, then they flip-flop, and Hamburg goes straight to the Bundesliga. Mm-hmm. So we had a Bundesliga berth at stake. And HSV scored a cracker of a goal early on and then held on to a 1-0 the whole time. And Heidenheim was losing against Jan Regensburg.
Yeah, and apparently the Sandhausen stadium announcer falsely congratulated Hamburg to their promotion, but then
it was 2-0 for Jan Regensburg. And then Heidenheim, I think, got a penalty. Well, they got a goal. They got a sloppy goal. And then 5 minutes in stoppage time, they got a penalty to equalize it. And then 2 minutes later, I think in the 9th minute or the 7th or the 9th minute of stoppage time, so maybe 4 minutes later, they got the winner. They got a sloppy little winner, and they won 3-2, and it sent Heidenheim straight up to the Bundesliga. The HSV game, I think, was over already at that point.
Yeah. At this point, they were first celebrating, and then they got the equalizer, and then they watched in horror as they scored again, and that was it.
I know, what another heartbreak. But HSV is still alive to fight. HSV Stuttgart, the relegation playoffs this week. We'll see who makes who. Usually the Bundesliga team wins, right? I'm trying to think of the last time.
11 out of the last 14, went to the... And Hamburg knows this better than most because they just lost it last year. But this Stuttgart team's weird, right? They
right.
On paper for a while now, certainly since... I mean, I think they have the 5th most points in the league since Sebastian Hoeneß took over. So for a while it seemed like they're clearly better than these other teams down there. But somehow they just didn't quite get it together. So it's hard to predict. I mean, on paper you would say, yeah, Stuttgart is gonna do this, but who knows? These things can have their own dynamic. But yeah, usually the Bundesliga team has an advantage.
Well, I'm hoping to flip the apple cart this year, and I look for HSV after 5 years in second division to finally make the way back up again. But they have to earn it, and if they lose, then they lose. I know, what are you going to do?
I mean, we'll have to say, right? You know, we're not the. I mean, I guess we're Bundesliga boosters to some extent, and it is a bit of if you're replacing Schalke and Hertha BSC with in terms of just fan support. Schalke
right, with Darmstadt and Heidenheim.
Schalke and Hertha out, Darmstadt and Heidenheim in. That's not like for like. And so now, you know, in Stuttgart and HSV, we're only going to keep one of those. I guess we probably, pick both of them over Darmstadt and Heidenheim. But that's not how it works. True. If you got the points, you're in. Darmstadt were a Bundesliga team when I was a child or a teenager. I definitely remember them being up there.
They were a Bundesliga team.
Heidenheim
3 seasons ago, weren't they?
Yeah, that was very briefly. Yeah, I mean Kyrie
Torsten
Shelton.
Flings,
No, that was
right?
Paderborn. I'm sorry.
That's part of it. Was it? But Torsten Flings coached them, right? Am I wrong? Towards the end, trying to save him,
No,
but
I
he
think
couldn't
you're
save
right.
him.
I think you're
No,
right.
Darmstadt's a traditional club. No, Heidenheim though is not. There's a great chart online. Literally, I think 10 years ago they were like a Landesliga club, which is like a half a step above a pub league club. It's literally like they were they were in the 11th division, and very slowly but surely have been climbing. And then they're now in the first time ever in the Bundesliga. So the beauties, Bjorn, of promotion and relegation. The finance and the fan support and the stadium can only get you so far. At the end of the day, the football is what matters.
Kick it. You got to kick it in the goal.
You got to kick it in the goal.
Often enough.
And,
I have a question for you, Stefan.
Shoot.
Americans abroad. American players, which league gives more minutes to American player in this past season? Which league has given more minutes to American players?
Do you have the stats in front of you?
The Premier League, the Bundesliga, or Serie A?
I mean, as far as all of Europe goes, I'd say like Belgium and Holland. But as far as those leagues go, just those three, the most minutes, like on average to all Americans?
To American players this last season.
I mean, I'm going to say, this is going to surprise me. I'm going to say the Bundesliga because it's a Bundesliga podcast. But in my mind, I'd like to think it's England simply because of Fulham and Leeds. But what's the answer?
You would be correct, and it's not.
England.
It's England, and not by it's not close. I think what was surprising me, because we always think of like the Bundesliga as this in general this land of opportunity for young players in general and for American players in particular. This past season, not all that much time. There's only one player who got 50% or more of available minutes for his team.
John Brooks,
and that is Joe Scally for Borussia Mönchengladbach. He got 2,208 minutes, and that is by far the most of any American in the Bundesliga. Everybody else is we have Jordan Pifok with 1358, 4 goals, 4 assists, but that was mostly
in the beginning of the season.
Earlier,
he fell off. His form fell off.
He has not really seen
he fell
a
off
lot
a
of
cliff
time lately. John Brooks got 1,350 minutes. That was later. And then the next one is Gio Reyna. Gio Reyna has a very good goals plus assists per 90. His 1.3 goals and assists per 90 minutes. He had a lot of goals and assists off the bench, much like this weekend.
He's an off the bench player.
His per 90 stats are very, very good. He's third among all players in all of Europe with 500 plus minutes in terms of goal and assists per 90, behind only Erling Haaland and Neymar. So, but he did not get a ton. He only got 625 minutes. It's not a lot. And then we have Kevin Paredes,
who haven't followed much at all over
529 minutes. Paxton Aronson, Paxton Aronson probably.
Did he play any senior minutes yet for Frankfurt? Just some trash minutes. 173
That's a
lot.
Minutes.
All in the cup, right? I don't think much of that was in Bundesliga.
No, this is Bundesliga.
Oh, okay.
So,
well, Bjorn, I understand what you're saying. So, it is right. Like the Bundesliga.
And then the only other Americans are Ricardo Pepi got 95 minutes for Augsburg before getting shipped off to
Groningen.
And Timmy Chandler got 86 minutes for Frankfurt this season, so he's also kind of on his way out.
Is he an American though?
Justin, I mean, he's got a passport. Justin Che and Caden Clark dressed but did not play for Hoffenheim and RB Leipzig respectively. So there you have it. That is not a lot of minutes for Americans in the Bundesliga this year.
No. And what I will say is it's been like that for a while. As far as like We've had Americans be key figures at clubs. Casey Keller at Gladbach, Steve Cherundolo at Hannover is probably the best example of that. He was their key player and eventually have been captain for them for a long, long time. But as far as like the Bundesliga does a good job signing youth and playing youth. That's good for them. However, like the whole thing with the national team over the past few years about all these players associated with all these big clubs, like Serginho Dest at AC Milan and Pulisic at Chelsea and what have you. But they're on the books. They're in the rotation. But none of them. There are no Americans for any major club that are being leaned on. The rotation players at best.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes Gio Reyna. Gio Reyna is probably the best example of an American at a big club who is making an impact. But the problem is when Gio Reyna gets his starts, which he earns, he does nothing with them. And they're like, Gio Reyna is better off the bench. So he's a spark plug off the bench, and that's the role he's carved for himself. Now, granted, he's only 20. Maybe he'll grow into a bigger player moving forward.
More,
but like,
there's room for him to grow. Yeah, and Joe Scally is somebody who's getting a lot of minutes, but that's really it. That's the only
good for him because you wouldn't. There's some senior players he's benching, but he doesn't get. He's still a rotation guy. He doesn't. He gets benched a lot for other players sometimes, and it's not like he's a first name on the team sheet. If you think of Americans who are first names on the team sheet, you think of Tyler Adams at Leeds when he's healthy, and then you think of Tim Ream at Fulham when he's healthy, and Jedi Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying. Then what else? I think that's it, right?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, Brendan Aronson got a lot of time at Leeds,
but he got benched.
But then
he's on the bench.
Towards the end of the season, he got less time. Yeah, and Tyler Adams lost some time because he was hurt.
He has injuries.
Weston McKennie played very
regularly during his loan stint, but back to Juventus he goes. It's not like So as far as Americans being leaned on, and that's sort of the big discussion between the national teams. Back in the day, Americans played for smaller clubs, but Clint Dempsey and Steve Cherundolo and Tim Howard and all these guys,
high usage guys,
they were week in, week out players for these clubs, and which is better, which is more effective. I don't know. So our boys are still young, but
more. Well, anyway, we'll talk about it in the American hour. But yeah, that just stood out to me that it's not that many minutes.
Well, if you think, I think about this often, as you can tell, because I'm going off. But if you think about the Bundesliga, a lot of Americans are there. Like Josh Sargent was there, and stuff like that. Even with Bobby Wood and stuff. The Americans, more times than not, disappoint, in my opinion, in the Bundesliga. They're given the opportunity, but then they sort of, they're young. It kind of flushed them out to go to a lower league.
Landon Donovan, yeah.
Well,
Eric Ronaldo, in a way. He had
like an old school. The only successful Americans back then was Thomas Dooley because he was German. The Germans do fine. John Brooks does fine.
Thomas Dooley is not a story of an American doing well. It's about a German becoming an American.
That's what I'm saying. John Brooks does well because he's
right.
When John Brooks' temperament is under control, he's in good form. The last few months, he's been playing week at Hoffenheim. Good for him. But then again, John Brooks is from the culture. He's born and raised. It's his league. Just like Fabian Johnson, who I thought was a really good player.
Timmy Chandler,
Timmy Chandler, a Frankfurt dude. But Timmy Chandler's from Frankfurt. Fabian Johnson, I don't think he was from Gladbach, but it's his culture. So for an American to go over there, like Steve Cherundolo is probably the best example. I'm trying to think if there's any other example as close to someone like him. And he kind of like Pellegrino Matarazzo. They moved there, they lived there for 20 years. They had to become German kind of to excel in the system. So
right.
I don't know.
The point is all it's just also, it's this idea that there is this incredible talent pool all of a sudden now in the US, and only a horrendous coach like Greg Berhalter could screw it up. is nonsense. It's like this is not, like you're saying, these are not like high usage guys. It's not like It's not like there's and after the top 11, things get pretty thin pretty quickly. Yeah.
These are the growing pains of a growing soccer country like us. Of
course, yeah, and there's no shame. There's no shame in that. Right. There's a lot to be excited about. There's a lot of good guys. It's just like,
But hold off on talking about winning the
keep,
World Cup.
Let's
Yeah.
keep the horse in the barn, right? Or
Right.
in German, you say halt den Ball mal flach. keep the ball
on the ground.
Keep the ball on the ground. Yeah.
Right. Here's one. Do you have the Sprachgefühl ready to go?
Please, of course.
I don't know what it is, so you're gonna have to explain it to me.
Sprachgefühl.
So I'll end it on this. I was listening to a podcast, scouring German media about all the who's and what's nots. This one guy kept talking about, was it Dortmund or it was a club or Bayern, how they used to be. He used the term Gurkensaison. And Gurkensaison, Saison, Titel, and then Gurkensaison. He just kept using Gurkensaison like it's a thing. Correct me if I'm wrong. Gurkensaison translate literally means gherkin season or cucumber season or whatever.
Cucumber season. Meaning,
and I guess
like,
the whole point is like, this is a season we know we're not going to win. It's a transitional season, but we're choosing, like, we know ahead of time it's a transitional season. Is that what that means?
Maybe. I thought.
Well, what have you heard it? What's the context you've heard it in?
Well, I would say it's just a bad season. It's just
is that what that means?
When things go, I guess when it's it like
go sour.
Gurke is exactly. Things go sour, and so it's a Gurkensaison. Yeah.
So a gherkin season. I like that.
Yeah, because it's in Germany, when you think of Gurke, it's usually like pickled. It's like the Gewürzgurke, like a pickled. Like a pickle, yeah, and so that's you make that face. It's like, oh, that season was, yeah.
Well, this is our Sprachgefühl this week. Gurkensaison.
There you go.
Gurkensaison.
Sprachgefühl.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, that was the Bundesliga. We still have a couple relegation games. We got the big cup game next weekend.
Yeah.
I'm pulling for Frankfurt only because I want Oliver Glasner to.
My money's on
go out
Leipzig.
swinging. Likely Leipzig will win. Yeah, and Kunkuku's last game in Germany before he leaves. For the time being, that was the Deutschland Hour. Coming up next, we got the USA Hour. Join us over there.
Let's do it.
Cheers. We got merch, friends, family.
Schnitzel
podcast
Boys
world.
are on Etsy.
Schnitzel Etsy.
Buy some mugs. The mugs are beautiful. They're holding up. Dishwasher safe. Tried it a couple times.
Still
Very
shiny.
good.
Still shiny.
Still shiny and excellent. Excellent quality.
We make great quality mugs. Huh?
Yeah.
All right. Tschüss. Nächste Woche.